Person in Person is brought to you by the Perineum Group, the only truly centrist news organization.
That's right, Greg. We're in the sweet spot between partisan extremes. When tain't the left and tain't the right.
It's Perineum.
Tonight on Person in Person. Men want her. Women want to be her. Kangaroos fucking hate her.
I'm not going to do a rat race joke.
Are you koala-fied to be up there?
Rat Story 2, Rodent Revenge.
What's in the hive? It's poo. It's poo.
Seizurepunk 2077.
All these stories plus weather, sports, food crime, and person v person. That's tonight
on Person in Person.
Good evening wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome to Person in Person. I'm Gene Person.
And I'm Greg Person.
No relation. Person in Person is a news show for people who don't like news shows. By people who don't like news shows. No lofty aspiration to journalistic integrity here. We pick and choose the stories we talk about. It's funnier that way.
That's right, Gene. We make the noise to put in your ear holes to drown out the howling of the void.
And nobody likes their void to be howling. Folks, it's main news. Our first story tonight, Kangaroo goes nuts. Tracy Noonan was out for a run in Melbourne, Australia, when she spotted a kangaroo. That is apparently a common sight for her on her run. However, the one she spotted, they kept getting closer, a little bit at a time, eventually jumping over fences and just coming at her, bro. She realized the kangaroo was after her and ducked into a defensive position, felt a huge, painful thud on her back, then looked up to see the kangaroo above her. She got up, started walking away. The kangaroo followed. Tracy threw rocks at the animal and managed to get away to the nearest house. Still, the kangaroo followed. The house's occupants came out, scared the kangaroo away, and brought her inside. But when she left, the kangaroo was out there again. After speaking with local animal control, it was determined that the likely reason for the attack was her perfume, Sarah Jessica Parker perfume. Tracy couldn't find her deodorant that morning and I guess put the perfume on instead. I like this story because it has real suspense beats. It's like a mini horror movie. I think this might be one we want to develop at some point, Greg.
Oh, this is absolutely a horror movie. Actually, I wanted to say this is one of my all-time great fears, that there is an animal that just will not leave you alone.
Right.
And it could be a completely innocuous animal. Like, if a raccoon just wouldn't stop getting in your shit, it would be scary.
Yeah.
And kangaroos are powerful. They can hurt you, so no thanks.
Maybe like Kangaroo Jack the Ripper.
That's really funny.
The image of her leaving the house and the kangaroo just standing there staring at her is so chilling to me.
See, that sounds it's like it'd be funny in The Simpsons, but in real life, that's not a joke. That's scary.
Right. Imagine if we bump that up for the movie that we develop. Imagine leaving the funeral of a loved one who was tragically murdered. And just outside the funeral hall, there's this kangaroo. And in that moment, you know, it's been him all along.
Right.
And he is hopping mad.
It's Cape Fear is what it is, but with a kangaroo.
Yes, Kanga Fear.
And the okay, so picture it. You look out the window of the funeral hall, it's nighttime, it's the parking lot, it's raining heavily outside, and into the glow of a street lamp steps the kangaroo, and he pulls out a switchblade from his pouch.
Right. Menacing. So, quick question. Does Ms. Noonan have any legal recourse in this situation? I don't think so. Not against the perfume manufacturer. Against the kangaroo, maybe? I can only assume that an action like that would end up in a kangaroo court.
Well, your pun aside, I'm putting the pun aside because it's too early in the episode for puns. But I do want to say that, funnily enough, the subject of animals being tried in human courts is one that I have actually studied at length.
Oh, really?
Yes, and the judicial precedent that has been established for animals tried in human courts is that if it is a wild animal, it is not subject to human justice. but if it's a domesticated animal or an animal that in some way participates in human society, then it can be subject to human laws.
So watch out, Mr. Dog Mayor in Kentucky.
Oh yeah, he can be impeached anytime.
Yeah. Reporters apparently tried reaching out to Sarah Jessica Parker for comment, as well as Kim Cattrall, Kristen Davis, and Cynthia Nixon. No comments were forthcoming. When it comes to kangaroo attacks, I guess girls just want to stay mum.
I have nothing to add to that. That was perfect.
All right. On to our next story, Greg.
So this one's also an animal story. A little bit heartwarming, a little bit sad if you think about it too much. Researchers at the University of Richmond built tiny cars, taught rats to drive them, and then let rats drive around to get food. And then they discovered that the rats enjoyed driving around just for fun, even when there was no food.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it rules. I mean, I love that somebody got paid to design and build tiny cars specifically for rats to operate. Okay, now getting into the details of this, do you know how long it took to teach these rats to drive cars?
I mean, I assume it took a while.
40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Yes. So they did 2 5-minute sessions a week. Took 40 minutes in total in multiple 5-minute sessions to teach the rats how to drive.
Wow. What's saying we get little Gene out there on the road?
I mean, he can do it. He's smarter than a rat. I have seen that boy figure out how to open up jars no problem, and rats can't do that. So,
right.
I mean, you'll have to get these researchers to design and build him a car, but they'll probably figure it out. They did it for rats. As you probably would figure, rats from enriched environments, which would mean, somewhat humane conditions for rats where they have toys and foods they like and lots of rat friends and things like that. They picked up the driving more quickly and they enjoyed it more than the rats that grew up in the standard laboratory conditions, which is basically rat prison.
Sure.
But both groups of rats did enjoy the driving and showed reduced stress.
Well, there's something comfortable and de-stressing about driving everywhere just about except Southern California.
Well, and the thing about these rats too is that they were on a closed course. So there was going to be no other traffic, no airplanes, which is something that we'll touch on in a later story. None of the flying cars. So
sure.
It was pretty easy going for the rats, but I feel like it's probably just going to take like another 40 minutes to teach them about traffic rules.
Right.
And then they're ready for the road.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Now, the part of this story, though, as I said in the beginning, that makes me a little sad when I think about it a little too much, is the fact of how smart and sophisticated these rats are, how much pleasure they derive from enjoying new things and exploring their environment. I'm pretty sure we're going to go to hell for our collective treatment of rats.
Yes and no, Greg. I'm a big fan of rats, particularly fancy rats, which are the ones you would find in a laboratory environment, as opposed to Norwegian rats, which are the ones that are mostly regarded as pests. Fancy rats, I've saved countless feeder rats, and I feel like I'm good on that score when rats do eventually take over the world and enslave us. And let me just state this in general, I love rodents.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, they're nature's tribbles.
Right. Still, it's crazy that someone just woke up in the morning and decided to teach rats to drive. That's amazing.
Yeah, in the paper that I read, they go into how they did it. They don't really go into why they did it. They don't explore the moment where they got, because presumably these people are experts on rat behavior, and one of them woke up one morning and said, I bet rats could drive a car.
You know what? I bet it was a Beverly Cleary fan.
Oh yeah, motorcycle mouse. That's got to be the next step.
Yeah, you got to get that mouse on a motorcycle somehow. You start with 4 wheels and you move down to 2.
Maybe if we do it with enough mice, we can finally convince people that motorcycles are dangerous and they shouldn't have them.
I think it's going to have the opposite effect, seeing all those adorable rodents on motorcycles.
Honestly, the thought of it makes me want to buy a motorcycle.
Same. Story number 3, koala climbs Christmas tree. An Australian family noticed an odd Christmas decoration. A koala had wandered into their house and climbed the Christmas tree. They shared photos online, which then went viral. Volunteers were able to rescue the koala and released it into a nearby gum tree. Honestly, the whole situation is pretty wholesome, and the photos are adorable. But, as we say, I do have questions. Right off the bat, It is a well-known fact that most koalas carry chlamydia. In most cases, as much as 100% of koala populations suffer from the illness. To the best of my knowledge, they don't make a condom big enough for a Christmas tree, so after the bear is gone, what do? Just douse the whole thing in Lysol? I'm just curious because I don't want that family to miss out on the magic of Christmas, and my favorite tradition is fucking the Christmas tree.
Where?
In the living room, Greg.
Naturally, yeah. So you don't worry about sap or splinters or anything like that?
Well, no. See, you got to go for the termite mound first, and then splinters aren't really a concern after that.
Because the termites are still in there? Jesus.
Based on the photos, it's clear the koala had climbed to the top of the tree. How can that be? I've been told koalas can only be found down under.
Okay, that's 2 puns. That's 2 puns already. We're about 5 minutes in, so...
Oh, this episode's going to be chocked full of puns. All I can say is this, Greg. They're pretty goddamn lucky it was a koala and not a drop bear. We're already dealing with zombie minks in 2020. We don't need to be fighting off man-eating koalas as well. I tried to consult with a wildlife expert in Australia regarding this story, but for some reason he just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich.
Well, you know what's interesting is I actually did once call a zoo in Australia to try and get to the bottom of the koala chlamydia story, because I had heard that they all had chlamydia. So I, waited for an appropriate time in the afternoon to call Australia, and I did speak to a very nice zookeeper lady, and she explained to me that the chlamydia that the koalas have, it's not a sexually transmitted disease.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's spread by... So, fuck that tree as much as you want.
Oh, great.
But it is spread by casual contact among the koalas, and it does unfortunately leave them sterile.
Oh, that's awful. That's kind of like herpes with cats. Cats who have herpes, it actually acts as a respiratory illness.
I had no idea cats could get herpes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a drag. So we have another rat story. We have inadvertently come up with a theme again for this episode. We didn't plan on this or coordinate this in any way, but last week's episode was all about weird sex stuff. This week, animals.
Yeah.
So here's another rat story. This one's about a Chipotle in Upper Manhattan that has ceded the battle to invading rats after several months. After leaving the restaurant open while the rats were eating their food and biting the employees, they did finally close after the rats chewed through the wires of their POS system and they couldn't take orders anymore. So, up until that point, though, they were happy to serve customers knowing full well that their restaurant was swarming with rats. The management and apparently Chipotle corporate also knew, and nothing was done even after several employees were bitten by rats. Now, after the general manager was bitten, they did close for a few days to do a deep clean, but of course that didn't do a thing because the rats are already in there.
Inside baseball here, but Greg, do you remember the size of the rats in the atrium at that place we used to work?
Yes, I do. It was a real night shift situation out there.
They were the size of cats.
I don't know how, because what did they even eat in there? What was in there?
I don't know, it was just overgrown with bushes, maybe blackberries.
Oh, yeah, could have been. Giant rats getting fat off of berries.
Yeah.
That seems cute, though. Now I feel bad. I remember how it went down for them, and it wasn't great. R.I.P. rats. But to get back to this restaurant, which is just a cavalcade of horrors, this place had an A rating from the health department.
How useless is the health department?
Right, exactly. I was my first thought was, oh, how did that happen? And then my very next thought was, oh no, I know how that happened.
No, what do you actually have to do to fail an inspection by the health department? Honestly.
Forget to pay the bribe, I guess?
Maybe.
Now, employees tried to solve the problem by killing the rats themselves, in a variety of horrific ways. But honestly, I'm going to absolve them officially in my capacity as a fake priest for their rodenticide. Because I don't feel like they were given a choice in the matter.
No, they got to work. They're endangering their own life during a pandemic as it is, just to make sure they can pay the bills. People treating them like crap day to day. They get paid as little as the corporation possibly can so they can maximize profits. And now they're also exterminators. Yeah, absolutely they are absolved.
So, I say, forget the restaurant angle. Fuck the restaurant. Let the rats have this one. They deserve a win anyway. They're having a rough time. I say we declare it an urban wildlife preserve, and all the former employees of the Chipotle, they can be game wardens, monitoring the urban wildlife preserve, looking in on the rats with little binoculars, making sure that their habitat stays pristine.
I'm all for it to a point, Greg, but I think you leave it a Chipotle. Rats are better cooks anyway, unless Pixar was lying to me.
Ratatouilles, absolutely. That's what these guys need. They don't want to steal. They don't want to hand out. They want to hand up. We need a job program for these rats.
Yeah.
Train them to be little ratatouilles.
Hey, Schumer, McConnell, where is the COVID relief for rats?
Right, and UBI and RAT.
ASAP. Our next story, honeybees ward off murder hornets. So, a team of researchers found Vietnamese honeybees have developed a novel approach to dealing with invading murder hornets. They send workers out to collect poop from other animals and put it around the entrance to their nest. Other substances they've collected include soap scum and human pee. As it turns out, murder hornets don't like the smell of poop, and so this really is a remarkable strategy. Unfortunately, Western honeybees don't have similar defenses, or at least haven't figured it out yet. So on the one hand, you get to live another day. On the other hand, you now have to live in shit. I guess it's a trade-off, but at some point you're just a fly with a stinger.
I've faced that dilemma in my own life many times.
Sure. Because of colony collapse, murder hornets are a major threat to humanity, too. Bees are more important to our food chain than humans are, frankly. So, can we start putting poop on beehives here? Can we just do it for the Western honeybees? Would they reject the hives at that point? What's the move?
Folks, I want to make absolutely clear here, we are not recommending that you attempt to take a shit into a beehive.
Unless you film it.
It's another one of those things that would be funny if you saw it on The Simpsons. In real life, I don't think you'd have such a cool time.
I'd like to also point out, Greg, that this strategy works in the human world as well. I've smeared animal feces all over my front door, haven't had a visitor since.
Actually, true story, little occult history for you. Aleister Crowley, you're familiar with him.
I am.
He had a spell that he swore worked every time, and it was to stop yourself from getting invited to the dinner parties of people that annoy you. So what you do is you wait until everybody's gathered in the drawing room, having coffee and cigarettes, and you say your chant, and the climax of the ritual is you take a big shit in the middle of the floor. And
people didn't want to come back after that, huh?
No, this is the way that he got himself uninvited forever from dinner parties. So I guess, I want to apologize to the Tumblr witches from episode 1. Turns out magic does work.
Let's go on to the next story, Greg.
Okay, so this one isn't about animals. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so you've probably heard that Cyberpunk 2077 has come out.
I have.
I haven't played it yet for a variety of reasons. I do have one more now. Apparently, there is a significant portion of the game that poses a serious seizure risk to photosensitive epileptics because a key component of the game was modeled after a device that exists in the real world specifically to induce seizures for diagnostic purposes.
Wow!
Yeah, imagine a lot of people have had seizures trying to play this game because of the thing that was specifically designed to cause seizures.
That sounds incredibly irresponsible.
Well, I can't figure it out because I've seen the thing in the game and I've seen the actual medical device, and you will never convince me that one is not directly based off the other.
Oh, that close?
Yeah. So, why? Did you just see a cool headset thing and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Got blinky lights. I like that.
These sorts of bloated productions tend to be the ones that do shit like this.
Well, this is another one of those things that's a hallmark of so many of the stories we cover. It's an endeavor that takes a lot of time and a lot of people and a lot of effort to produce, and it was a bad idea from the beginning. It's right. Another win for Dupree Satan is what it is.
Dupree Satan, indeed.
That's going to be our first T-shirt, I think.
We'll have to come up with something catchy to say about Dupree Satan, but I think we're definitely in the right direction with him as a central figure.
So the solution the developers had is to add an additional warning and maybe, hopefully, someday some kind of patch. There's nothing so far, and there's nothing like in-game to tell you, hey, this is the part that you shouldn't look directly at if you want to remain vertical.
Wow.
So, yeah. This is the same game that was delayed 3 times and has an elaborate character creation system for your character's genitals. You can pick
their genitals?
Yeah, you have, it's like how in role-playing games you've got like the various sliders and the preset configurations.
Yeah.
You can do that for things like penis length, pubic hair. So this game has...
Quick question, Greg. Can you make your dick into a 7-foot monument?
I don't know, but I mean, there's probably going to be a mod for that.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Maybe you're the one, you know some people that can make that happen. I know you do.
I do.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd say that's your project. But this game, yeah, I mean, you can customize your genitals, and they never, apparently at no point in the testing process of this game did they say, now, is this going to cause anybody's brain to fritz?
Right.
Now, here's the worst part, though, and this is not about the game itself. This is about gamers, the lowest form of nominally human life. Now, I play games, but I am not a gamer. This, to me, is a distinction that's extremely important.
If I'm a gamer, I'm a very casual gamer.
Well, some gamers who are definitely not being cash about it, they're so mad that people in reviews have criticized their child's toy that they've been sending seizure-inducing videos to epileptics.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that's like actual violence.
Yeah.
And, I would say that the solution is to sterilize gamers, to purge them from the gene pool, but we know we don't have to do that.
Right, I was going to say, sterilizing them seems like adding insult to an already existing injury.
Yeah, God sterilized them with their terrible personalities, so...
Not to mention the crap that they consume.
Right? I mean, you can only have so many Hot Pockets before it starts to affect your sperm count.
Right, all those phytoestrogens. All right.
Soy boys.
Can we officially call gamers soy boys for now?
Oh no, they for sure are.
Our next story, Piers Morgan, Home Alone star. So a rumor has been spreading online. It happens every day on the internet. But it has circulated so widely that the subject was forced to issue a public denial. No, it's not that Ted Cruz is a Zodiac killer. We already know that. It's that Piers Morgan, a man best described as that extremely unlikable British guy, played the role of the homeless woman in Central Park in the holiday film Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Morgan insists that it is not him, but Irish actress Brenda Fricker, but photo comparisons of the two do prove to be compelling. His own co-host noted similarities, and apparently his own son may have played a part in circulating these rumors. If it were true, Piers would be the second most unlikable person in that movie, after the cameo by Donald Trump. Oddly, Tim Curry, who plays a villain in the piece, is still super fun and enjoyable.
The only thing about this story, because it is uncanny, the resemblance.
It is.
But the thing I will say, and I hope I'm not stepping on a point that you're about to make, is that actually Fricker's performance in this is very touching, very, very nuanced, and very sweet.
That is absolutely what I'm about to get into. Look, it's obviously not Piers Morgan in the movie, because he doesn't have a talent to speak of, so he's clearly not a gifted actor. We shouldn't rob Brenda Fricker of her incredible performance, which possessed a quality that no Piers Morgan performance ever could: humanity.
Exactly. Piers Morgan has all the warmth and character of a beehive smeared with shit.
That's been fucked.
No, don't fuck the beehives. From here on out, any sort of insect colony that you encounter, just treat it respectfully and move on.
All right.
So this one, I know I harp on flying cars a lot, but
you do.
This is a story that I think is going to illustrate my point so well, I'm not going to have to keep going back to it.
All right, lay it on me.
A pilot of a single-engine plane had to make an emergency landing on the freeway outside of St. Paul, and you can see the video of this on the internet. This guy, total king, He lands in between two cars. He does a perfect zipper merge from up in the air.
Wow.
He's just cruising. Now, he did accidentally sideswipe a lady who was ahead of him just because he was going too fast and he's in a big-ass plane. But here's the good news. This is the guy that you want to get... And the driver of the car that got sideswiped even says, if I have to get sideswiped on the freeway, I'm glad it was him. Because this guy, Craig Gifford, is a world-class aerobatic pilot who's actually won medals competing for the United States in international competition. So,
I was going to ask if he was Estonian.
Nope, not Estonian in this case. But this is an absolute Sully level move, and props to Craig Gifford. If you're listening, probably you are. You rule. You're my hero. Honestly, in general, I am so awed by pilots. I think pilots are just the coolest people. Pilots and astronauts.
Yes, and pirates.
And pirates, too. Yeah. You're living your own life. You're on the high seas. You don't take shit from anybody. It's a beautiful life.
But yeah, I agree with you. Pilots, there's a tremendous amount of training that goes into becoming a pilot. There's a certain personality type about, you remain cool under pressure. And there are, when things go wrong up there, it's pretty serious. And we have a lot of stories of pilots who have just maintained their cool and wound up saving hundreds of lives.
But see, this is precisely my point. It's still, with all this guy's skill and all of his competence, it is still a miracle that no one was killed. And if you can look at a near miss by this absolute god among men, this king who strides above all of us, and you still think in your heart that you should have a flying car, you can fuck off.
Have you checked out personandpersonshow.com yet?
We have a website now,
where you can stream full episodes of the show,
including the first episode.
I don't know why anyone would want to. The audio was so bad.
But the dinosaurs are so good.
You can also check out blog posts Greg and I have made.
Like my list of the best stuff,
my list of the worst stuff,
Gene's touching essays about the holidays of youth,
and Greg's equally touching recipe for the perfect BLT.
You can also vote right now for what you, our listeners, want to be called.
Person people,
personae,
personal army,
or suggest your own.
Voting closes New Year's Day.
Anything else you want to mention?
I'd like to mention socks.
Oh, are you writing an article about socks?
No, Greg, but they feel damn good on my feet.
There is no Jerry on the website.
We have complete creative control.
And we promise Gene's weird fixation with socks won't be on there either.
I have complete creative control.
So if you like Person in Person,
or socks,
or censorship of sock-related content, visit today, personandpersonshow.com.
That's personandpersonshow.com.
The only news website by persons for persons.
On to the emotional weather. Our three emotions this week are sneaky, sleepy, and snarky. Greg, do you want to lead off with sneaky?
Well, it'll be no surprise to anybody what I think is a good exemplar of sneakiness. And I'm not going to belabor the point, but my sneaky candidate this week is rats. I mean, you know how sneaky they are, so I don't have to explain it to you. But, I mean, I guess even though we know how sneaky they are, we didn't really know how sneaky they are, if you're following me.
I am.
They can drive cars.
Uh-huh.
We didn't know that.
No, we did not.
If you can learn to drive a car in 40 minutes, that basically just means you already knew how to drive a car. So, what else can they do? We won't know until it's too late.
Well, Greg, my choice for sneaky this week is, I'm going to have to give the title to my brother-in-law, with whom I've recently played a great deal of the game Among Us. My brother-in-law, who we'll call Herman O. Humano, wound up being the imposter no fewer than 9 times, and damned if he didn't win almost every time. Herman has a gift for it, I guess, and he made no secret of the fact that he enjoys the game. Herman is also an occasional listener of the show, so I'd like to give a shout out. Hey, brother-in-law. Sorry I went with Herman for your assumed name. You're one of the smartest and funniest people I know, and I'm so grateful to be able to call you family.
And I'd just like to say to Herman, I don't know you and I've never played this game, but I understand from context that you did a good job, so congratulations.
On to Sleepy.
Well, the sleepiest person I know is Pretzel Person, who's actually a dog, but still a person. He's actually lying down right now after having woken up for about half an hour to pee and have a snack. He's probably slept about 12 hours today, which is typical for him. So he's unable to hold down a steady job or pursue an education. What's really fascinating about his sleepiness is that somehow while sleeping, his body expands from the size of a small hoagie roll to be big enough to fill an entire queen bed. His doctors are stumped, but they tell me it's likely to be permanent.
My choice for Sleepy this week, and by rights, Greg, I should give this title to myself. It's been a really rough week for sleep, but that's been the case since little Jean was born. Nevertheless, I've chosen another. A mayor of Shively, Kentucky, Beverly Chester Burton, allegedly fell asleep while in the drive-thru of White Castle. She crashed her car into a parked vehicle shortly thereafter, blamed the crash on her, quote, accelerator getting stuck, but smelled of alcohol according to the arrest citation. So maybe tipsy is more appropriate than sleepy. I don't know, Greg. Words don't have any meaning anymore when you're as tired as I am all of the time.
Well, this lady was clearly drunk in a drive-thru. We've all been there. You just gotta accept it and move on. Now, she was the mayor.
She was the mayor.
I want to live in the kind of town where the mayor is drunk in a drive-thru. I do.
Yeah, and this is in Kentucky where they also elect dogs as mayor, so...
Oh, what if the dog was driving a car? Oh, God, and he was drunk and he was at the Taco Bell?
Yeah, at that point, I think he crosses over into bad boy territory.
So our third emotion is Snarky, and I've nominated one of my absolute favorite authors, the English humorist P.G. Wodehouse. The wry sense of humor that we associate with people like Douglas Adams or Stephen Fry, what we Americans tend to think of as the British sense of humor, it basically comes directly from Wodehouse. You might be familiar with his Wooster and Jeeves stories, or Jeeves and Wooster stories.
Sure.
And actually, Stephen Fry was in those, along with Hugh Laurie. They did some TV versions that were hugely popular. But you can find the stories themselves, the Wodehouse stories, for free on Kindle, and I definitely recommend them to anybody listening. They're hilarious, and in fact, I was just cracking into some the other day, which is what made me think of them.
Wonderful. For Snarky, I've chosen a writer, Mark Shelton, who also happens to be gay. Now, this isn't an ongoing saga of snark. This is a single act of snark, but it's one that touched me very much. He posted an email from his dad in which his father wrote that his son was, quote, an abomination under severe attack from Satan, that, quote, God is on his side, and that his son, quote, has no chance except to rot in hell, along with some other greatest hits of the Boomer set, showing an inner strength and a great sense of humor in spite of what must have been a truly hurtful missive. Mark clapped back, thank you for giving me life, but now I know that there's more to good parenting than an ejaculation, and vowed never to write or speak another word to his father again. Mark dropped the mic. It's hard to abandon family. Somewhat easier when they abandon you first, often and consistently. But I gotta give big props to Mark Shelton.
Congratulations, Mark. You did what you had to do.
As you know, every week, our investigative team presents a detailed and harrowing story on food crime. This week, Greg Person has the story.
Now, folks, you might have seen this one floating around social media already. There was a Twitter user, @thatfrude, who had a dream that there existed a food called a king's hand, which was a hand made of hollow M&M cookie and filled with Greek salad. That's fine.
So first off, king's hand sounds like a food that if I didn't know the ingredients, I would want to try. Go on.
I absolutely agree. And if you show me an M&M cookie shaped like a hand, I'm like, that's interesting. What's happening there? Let's take a closer look.
Yeah.
But then it's full of Greek salad. So here's where this story crosses, because we've all had dreams.
Sure.
We've all had dreams in which we've said and done horrible things. But where this crosses the line into food crime is that this psycho, this absolute maniac, woke up, spent a week figuring out how to make one, and then ate it.
Holy shit. That feels like a legendary move.
And not only that, but so many sickos on the internet were clamoring for him to tell them how he made it that he posted detailed instructions so that you can make your own king's hand.
Well, let's all give him a big king's hand.
Absolutely not. I gotta abstain, because here's the thing. Following your dreams is all well and good, but he's given birth to a nightmare and loosed it on the world. He's a modern day Oppenheimer, except the thing that he created can be duplicated by anybody with the time and a few simple ingredients. There's a lot of misery spreading in waves around the world tonight because of this guy, so, bad on you, buddy.
Let's all give him a big king's finger?
Yeah, that's it. Take this. You can't see it because this is an audio medium, but so hard. This bird is flying high, and it's just for you.
Let's all give him a big king's fist.
No, the king's fist is something entirely different, I'm sure. I bet it already exists.
Understood. It's sports. We'll be talking about the Christmas movie bracket in our final segment of the evening, Person v. Person. So why don't you tell us about our highlighted sporting event, Greg?
Absolutely. I've been watching some Irish TV lately, and I got interested in hurling, which is a traditional Irish field sport, not to be confused with curling, which is dumb. Hurling is a bit like lacrosse. You use a stick which looks like a hockey stick. It's called a hurley, and you grab and throw the ball, called a slitter, into a big net. Unlike footballers, soccer players, who will dive to the ground if you enter their bubble of personal space. It's literally the only sport that they can still play in the era of COVID because they all assiduously observe social distancing. Hurlers are quite physical, and they not only eschew pads, but there's so much humility baked into the culture of hurling that the team uniforms don't have names or even numbers on the jerseys, which I thought was kind of a cool touch.
No pads, no names, no numbers, just a bunch of men living in the moment.
Yeah, just men with sticks running with balls balanced on the sticks. See, you have to carry the ball on the stick. And you can catch it with the stick or you can catch it with your hand, but you have to carry it on the stick and you have to throw it with the stick into the net. I've watched this game and I gotta say I am riveted. It is fast-paced, it is physical, it looks like a hell of a lot of fun. So what's interesting to me is that hurling, like a lot of games played in former British colonies, has also spread to like Australia and Canada. But it's also popular in South Korea for some reason, and I haven't figured out how it made the jump there. I'll have to research that. So this is, if you want to talk about, the debased English shin kicking being at one end of the spectrum, this is definitely getting you closer to what is the best, most elevated sport.
Yeah, I was going to say shin kicking's not really a high bar to clear, honestly.
No, this is a sport that I feel has a little bit of something for everybody. So I say check it out. Watch a hurling match.
And all you really need to become a professional is to eat an entire KFC bucket and get on the Gravitron.
In Australia, they call it a chunder match.
All right, it's time for our brand new segment, Person v. Person. And tonight's debate topic, what two movies make the Christmas bracket? So we've got 16 titles here that have been submitted by friends and family, as well as listeners. A few of these can be dismissed out of hand, so we'll just go down the list. I'm going to start with my 8, and then we'll move on to yours. So Gremlins, we're definitely keeping in there.
Yes.
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, I'd like to keep in there.
I've never seen it, but it's got Christmas right in the title, so sure.
I'm crossing out Santa Claus the movie because it was basically just Coca-Cola product placement, the movie. We've got Die Hard, which I don't know if we need to have that debate again, but let's go ahead and leave it in.
Absolutely.
Elf, let's definitely leave Elf in. Krampus, I'd like to keep Krampus in. We'll go ahead and cross off Home Alone and A Christmas Story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of either of those. Movies with kids in them, it's not that I don't like kids, it's that I don't like the movie version of what a kid is.
Right. And I mean, I don't think either of those are contenders for the top spot. So I'm just trying to get the playing field narrowed down a little bit. If we've got 6 or 5 apiece, I've got 5 here. Let's try and keep it down to 5 apiece.
I think that's a good way to do it. Now, I have Gremlins 2 on my list, and I actually want to get into it a little bit about Gremlins versus Gremlins 2, because they're both great movies. But I'm not sure if Gremlins 2 is a Christmas movie. I kind of want to say that it is.
I feel like there's a lot of hints that it is. So It's a Wonderful Life is on in the background in one of the scenes. There's a lot of Christmas-themed stuff in the film, even though it's not explicitly set during the holidays. Plus, it's a parody of sort of the events in Gremlins, so I don't know if one factor carries over, maybe other factors do too.
Because, I mean, Gremlins is more explicitly a Christmas movie. This one Gremlins 2 could have been set at any time of year. They just did it to sort of have a continuity. So I'm going to say, as much as I love it, it's a great movie. And I think better than Gremlins, the original Gremlins, although they're hard to compare.
But that's not really what this debate is anyway, which is a better movie. It's about picking the best Christmas movie.
Right. So I think I'm going to have to take that one out. Now, my second pick, though, has to stay in The Grinch, the original Grinch with Thurl Ravenscroft and Boris Karloff.
Oh, yeah, let's leave that in.
I mean, okay, and then The Ref, my favorite Christmas movie, perhaps the most underrated Christmas movie. This is, I think, one of the most underrated Christmas movies of all time. It should be right up there.
I totally agree. I love The Ref. It's a good movie.
Now, my next movie is The Santa Claus, which I'm going to volunteer should be taken out because fuck Tim Allen.
Yeah, let's scratch that one because Tim Allen is a crazy pants. And honestly, it's not a very good movie.
No, it sucks. And then there's Scrooged, underrated Bill Murray vehicle. Love that movie.
I say we keep that one in for sure.
Edward Scissorhands I put on the list because in my mind it was a Christmas movie. But looking back on it, part of it takes place at Christmas, most of it does not. And it's certainly not about Christmas.
Right. Okay, so we can take that one out.
Now, The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Ooh.
Underrated action flick with Sam Jackson and Gina Davis. Now,
yeah, let's leave that one in for sure.
Yeah, not a lot of Christmas themes in it, but holy shit, this is a good movie.
Yeah, it really is.
Underrated. Brian Cox in that movie is hysterical.
Oh my god. Yes.
And then lastly, Trading Places.
So our first matchup is Gremlins versus Krampus. Now I'm definitely going to fall in the Krampus camp on this one.
Really? Because Gremlins is literally a modern masterpiece.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I feel like Krampus is more of a Christmas movie and is therefore the better Christmas movie.
Well, but you can't just operate from the position that more Christmas equals better Christmas movie, because if that were so, then we would have Love Actually on this list, and I'll see you in hell before I see Love Actually on this list.
I mean, okay, so that is fair, but just because it is a better movie does not mean it is the better Christmas movie. I'm not gonna just cede this point. I feel like there is actually a message behind Krampus that is a very good movie. It's no Gremlins, but it is a very good movie that is about Christmas. And so I think it is the better Christmas movie.
Krampus does explicitly explore the meaning of Christmas and what happens to you when you fail to respect the meaning of Christmas.
And what happens to your entire family when you fail to respect the meaning of Christmas.
Now, and I like that as a theme. Now, Gremlins also has, and you can tell that I went to film school because I talk like this. Gremlins also has themes of not respecting shit and what happened.
Sure. That's a very educated position.
Yeah, I believe that Pauline Kael was the first person to put it in those terms. But the themes that it explores are not really about Christmas. I mean, the Gremlins didn't come about because they didn't have Christmas spirit. The Gremlins came about because you fed them after midnight.
Right.
So,
which, I mean, you can extrapolate to be somewhat Christmas-like because you are breaking rules at that point, which means you would be on the naughty list. But it's just not, it doesn't come right out and say it.
Yeah, Gremlins does explore the naughty-nice dichotomy, which is important for Christmas movies.
Sure.
But the sort of, okay, how about this as a compromise? I will concede that Krampus is a good movie that is more Christmas, but we have to admit that Gremlins is the better movie.
I absolutely admit that Gremlins is the better movie.
Okay.
Hands down.
All right, so for this contest only, which is not a better movie contest, Krampus
Right,
wins.
right. You got to respect the category. But I agree with you. Gremlins is the superior film.
Good. Well, as long as that's settled. If any of you sickos out there think that Krampus is better than Gremlins, stop listening to our show. If I find out you're still listening to our show, I will hunt you like an animal.
You won't have to. We'll just call up Krampus.
That's right. We'll tell the Krampus that you think his bullshit movie is better than Gremlins, and he'll take care of the rest.
All right, our next matchup. Let's go ahead and do Scrooged versus Trading Places.
Oh, man. So good. You've got two great comedians of the 80s, titans at the top of their powers. Well,
For me, there's a clear winner in this race, though. The one that doesn't have blackface in it.
yeah. I mean, there's some stuff in Scrooged that doesn't age fantastically either, probably.
I know, but Scrooge doesn't feature blackface and a put-on accent. Regardless of how it aged, I feel like it's an incredibly uncomfortable scene to watch. It makes the movie damn near unwatchable for me now.
See, I get what you're saying, because it's not that it's bad or racist, because it's not racist in the way that it's done, because the point of it is that it should be ludicrous, and it only works because the other guy is racist. So,
well, ludicrous or not, I don't think it's up to us to decide what's racist and what's not.
that's a fair point too. And I'll say this. I'm not canceling Trading Places. It's a fantastic movie. But that scene is cringe. All right, Trading Places, you're a fantastic movie. I love you. Yeah, I'm going to have to give this one to Scrooge. And, you know, Scrooge probably has aged a little better than Trading Places did.
I agree with that. All right, Die Hard versus The Long Kiss Goodnight. This is a tough one.
Oh,
This is a really tough one.
It is, man. I mean,
As far as Christmas themes go, neither of them has much to speak of. They're both set during the holidays. I think honestly, The Long Kiss Goodnight is a better movie.
a better movie than Die Hard. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I know that. The Long
I know
Kiss
it's
Goodnight is my
tough.
pick.
It's tough because Die Hard did launch, 1,000 films that were modeled after its basic premise. God, it's such a good movie.
It's so iconic, but we can't let its iconic status, its place in the culture, obscure the movie that it is. We got to look at this
Right.
totally objectively. We got to look at it like anthropologists. If we were going to drop a Martian down who had never seen either of those movies and say, just watch both of these movies, tell us which one is better. Which one do we think is better? Now, I think if we're going to go back to this same criterion that we used for the Gremlins and Krampus, though, which one is more Christmassy, I would argue that The Long Kiss Goodnight is marginally more Christmassy.
Is it?
It is. And there's a couple reasons why. One is that, there's gifts for children. There's children.
Okay.
There's children in the movie. Now, Die Hard takes place basically at an office Christmas party.
Uh-huh.
So that's a point in its favor. But, there's a toy for Samantha Cain's kid in The Long Kiss Goodnight. Samantha Cain / Charlie Baltimore. Fuck that good movie. I need to watch that movie again.
It's so good.
But
Samuel L. Jackson alone, man.
yeah, Mitch is trying to get a toy for his kid, and he sees his kid before Christmas, and they have their whole exchange, which
Right.
is kind of, with adult eyes, it's kind of especially gut-wrenching.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that is a story that's far more about family and about love and about being there for the people that you care about, which is what Christmas is all about.
Well, Greg, you've sold me. Let's do it. The Long Kiss Goodnight takes the spot.
Better Christmas movie than Die Hard. Put it on the board.
All right. And now the next battle, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas versus The Grinch. Now, these are both holiday classics from masters of the kid-friendly trade. We've got Jim Henson versus Dr. Seuss in this matchup. It's incredible. I'm going to go with Emmett Otter.
Now, I've never seen Emmett Otter. And
Well, you otter.
yep, that's 3. That's 3 puns. 3 that I caught. There might have been more that I didn't notice. Listeners, if you want to email and tell me if I missed any puns so that I can put it in the police report.
You know what? I'm really
Right.
taking a devil's advocate position here. The crooning tones of Thurl Ravenscroft as he sings the You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch song. I just don't think there's any better than that over the holiday season. So I'm going to be pretty easily swayed on this one to vote for the Grinch.
Well, here, my argument for the Grinch is simply the fact that I haven't seen Emmett Otter. And there's not a hole in my soul because of it. But if I don't watch the Grinch at least once every year around Christmas time, I know that I have cheated myself out of a holiday tradition that I love.
And therefore your heart grows 2 sizes too small.
Exactly. And I can't be having that. My doctor says if my heart shrinks anymore, I'm going to have to be admitted.
Our final matchup, the Ref versus Elf.
Very different comedic sensibilities in these movies.
They're both comedies, though. I don't know. So Elf sort of takes advantage of that whole Rankin and Bass aesthetic. It's got Will Ferrell, who's kind of a natural for this kind of comedy. But then the Ref tells a Christmas story that's very different from the other Christmas stories on this list.
See,
I don't know where I want to land on this.
here's why I'm going to ride for the Ref. Not just because it's on my list, but because you have basically in these movies, you have 2 very different approaches to Christmas. You've got the fanciful Christmas where, okay, you've got, a fractured family. Everyone's a little distant, a little cold, but Buddy's going to come and he's going to bring the literal magic of Christmas into their lives. And that's going to fix everything. That is the child's fantasy of what Christmas is for. The Ref, on the other hand, that's your real shit Christmas.
Right. And it's pretty goddamn accurate to a real sort of dysfunctional Christmas, and also very funny while it does that. You know what? I think your argument is really, really strong, especially when we already have Scrooged on the list, which sort of takes care of that fantasy aspect.
Right.
I think I'm sorry, Buddy the Elf. We got to kick you to the curb on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's aspects of Elf that I really enjoy. Some that are a little bit treacly for me.
Sure, I will still continue to watch it with my son every Christmas, but I think I'm going to take it out of the running for the best Christmas movie.
Yeah, I think the Ref has got to take that slot because it is the most overlooked classic of the Christmas movie genre.
So before you vote, we strongly encourage you to at least check out the Ref. We're going to open this up to voting on our website as soon as this episode posts. There will be 1 week of voting only. And, if we get 2 or 3 votes, whoever those 2 or 3 people vote for, that's who's going to decide it. So I encourage you to make your voice heard on this.
Yeah, we know you're out there. You're in Kentucky. You're in Iowa. You're in France. French people can vote in this. English people cannot, but French people can.
English people can vote in this. All right. Our final segment tonight, as every week, is Person to Person in Person, where we share your valuable feedback with our audience. And this week, we finally have a voicemail.
Nice.
I'm going to go ahead and play it for you now.
Oh, really? Go for it. Yeah.
Dear customer, this call is to inform you that you have been selected to redeem free credits and a 50% discount on your current TV provider, along with the upgrade to free premium channels. So please call us back at the number you see on your caller ID to speak to one of our customer support representatives.
Okay, so
Gene, this is awesome.
I'd say I'm disappointed, but that's kind of my default anymore. Listeners, shy or not, we love the fuck out of you.
No, Gene, I love this. We have an opportunity to get premium cable channels at a budget price. Like, this is the velvet rope parting for us.
Folks, that's all the show we have for you tonight. We invite you to participate in Person to Person in Person. There are so many ways for you to get yourself heard. Send us an email, personinpersonshow@gmail.com. Drop us a voicemail, 541-249-5933. Find us at Twitter, @AnchorPersons, and on Facebook, @Person in Person Show. check out our website. This week I posted alternate lyrics to Baby It's Cold Outside, and well, I don't want to spoil the surprise. Greg posted an article to help us all cope with the anxiety of the world ending around us. Until next time, this is Gene Person saying, you should always end a comedy set with a callback.
And this is Greg Person saying, don't make a king's hand. Good night.
Hey, listen, babe. Just wanted to tell you that your perfume is dope. Sorry I couldn't get that out before and it kind of creeped you out, but kangaroos aren't supposed to talk. Gotta bounce.